Hello, hello. This is Pablo Arias with the International Relocation Partner. And today with me, I have a dear friend, Lawsen, from GAP. Grupo GAP is a service solution for expats in commerce who are looking to get a credit. And the title of this conversation is How to Get a Mortgage Loan in Costa Rica, if that's even possible. If you want me to add something to that, if that's even possible, because for years, I've been hearing how difficult, how hard it is to get a loan, or almost impossible. And I believe Lawsen has a solution that we should all know about. And we just wanted to share this with our audience. Uh, Lawsen, please introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about what you do, your background, and then we go into topic because I know a lot of people, newcomers who are looking to move abroad. They may want to finance some of their, you know, purchasing their property or their projects. You guys might help with that.
Yes, that's correct. So my name is Lawsen Tellier. I'm the operations manager at Grupo GAP. My father founded this country over 20 years ago when he first came to Costa Rica. He noticed that there was a niche in the market here and that it is very difficult for expats to get loans in Costa Rica, being that banks here have a limited amount of funds, especially ever since 2008 in the crash. They've been very reluctant, to say the least, to give out loans to anybody who isn't at least a permanent resident and also has a record with the bank of previous spending and whatnot, so that they know who you are. And so he found that niche for us to be able to do the company that we do, which is we provide private loans for expats as well as Ticos alike. Um, yeah, so that's kind of our business in a nutshell. I first got here when I was 16, and I've been living off and on in Costa Rica ever since. And yeah, I love it here, so it works out well.
So now you're pretty much a tico now. Is
Yeah,
it? Yeah,
Canadian
yeah,
Tico for
yeah.
sure.
Anyway, excellent. We're so happy to have you here. Before we go into topic, I'd like to remind everyone what is that we're doing. The Expat
Mhm.
Community is a platform of resources for the newcomer, the expat, the investor who is looking to move abroad. And your services is one of those resources. I mean, we want to let people know what are the tools out there, what are the resources, the contacts, and that's what the Expat Community is all about. And this is why we are happy to interview you and share your contact with our community. But the Expat Community has many different things. We have a knowledge base, we have a leaders page where we provide the context of all of our expat leaders. We also have this podcast. We have local news translated into English. And coming soon, in the next couple of months, we have a book about how to live abroad, how to live in Costa Rica. And we are extending this initiative to other countries as well: Panama, Costa Rica, Mexico, Spain, and Portugal. Those are the 5 destinations that we're going to be focusing on. Thank you so much, Lesson. And tell me a little bit about your offering, because I think uh, the first thing is, is it really possible to get a credit? This is a private private loan. My understanding is this is a private loan, and
Mhm.
it may be a little bit challenging for many people to get a loan when you're not. You have to have credit in Costa Rica or in the U.S. Or do you look at the credit score back in their own country, or how do you manage that risk?
So our job is to be consultants, and what we do is we bring the borrower to the lender. We have one lender that helps out the borrower. So what we're looking for, or what they're looking for rather, is just a good loan to value ratio. So basically, what it boils down to is if somebody's looking for a $30,000 loan on a $300,000 property, then that's what we would call a no-brainer, and that's what our lenders would call a no-brainer as well. And so that means that they're not so much interested in the individual, but much more into the collateral. So that
Mm.
allows for, for example, that could be enough money for somebody to install a pool or a jacuzzi or something along those lines. Those are the best loans that we have that we can offer to our lenders are something around a 10% loan to value. Our lenders are interested in looking to things all the way up to the 50% mark. But when it does get to that 50% mark, let's say you wanted to borrow, 150,000 on a $300,000 property, they're going to have a little bit more questions for you. They may want to look into, who you are and what kind of credit record you have and how you'd be able to pay the loan. But when it
Mm.
comes to those smaller, 10%, 30,000 on a $300,000 property, there's much less questions. It's a very fast process, and they're always happy to do those.
Wow. So I'm going to be making questions, but if anybody in the audience has a question how to get a loan, a mortgage in Costa Rica, they're happy. I'll be happy to share those questions on the screen and let other people
Sure.
participate. Now, a good question that comes to mind is, uh, so you don't look at the credit score, you don't look at the Beacon score. It's mainly their loan to value. It's mainly so. This is perfect. Perhaps per let's say you are buying a $300,000 property, but maybe it's worth I don't know 350, and that's where you guys could come in to offer that additional gap, that additional $50,000. It's pretty much that. Is that pretty much what you do?
Yes, that's correct. And it's funny, you used our company name in there as Gap, and that is kind of our motto. We fill the gap that, allows you to borrow the 50,000 that you need to, purchase a property or that you need to put in the jacuzzi or the pool. That's really what, our lenders are happy to do all day, every day. The due diligence process really comes down to the lender's lawyer. They'll look into whether there's any liens on the property, if there's anything like an HOA, homeowners association fee that has to be paid first. All those things have to be up to date. Your taxes have to be paid. But if all those things are done, then the loan can be closed in as little as a week to 2 weeks. Sometimes there might be something like a HOA fee that you have to pay, and then it would go back on to the borrower for them to get that done quickly. And if they're able to do that quickly, then the loan can close very quickly. In a matter of, like I was saying, sometimes I've even seen it where a loan has been closed in under a week, and that's just because all the I's are dotted, all the T's are crossed, and the only thing that there was to do was to do the first place mortgage.
Okay. Now, just to give a little bit of a context, Costa Rica credit, even if you have credit in Costa Rica, even if you have a stable job in Costa Rica, even if you have a business in Costa Rica, property mortgage, rates are very expensive, are like at least three times more expensive than any other mortgage in the US or perhaps Canada.
Mm-hmm.
You're looking at probably what in Costa Rica, probably 12, 13%. It starts
That's correct.
at the very beginning, maybe 7% or 7 to 9% for 1 year or 2 years. But then it gives you what is so tasa básica pasiva. It's called. They give you a percentage
Mm-hmm.
that fluctuates. So 1 month you could be
Mm-hmm.
paying 12%. The next month you could be paying 11%, and it just back all the way until you finish paying this mortgage. So you end up
Mm-hmm.
paying average probably 12%, maybe even more. In relationship to that, what are your rates, or what could people expect?
Sure. So, I mean, just to start, if you are a permanent resident and let's say you have the perfect job and you have a wife who has a perfect job and you're also looking to apply for a mortgage that's under the luxury tax, which is that's just approximately under 150,000, and you are Tico or if you check all the boxes, you may be able to get a loan under 10%, but that's probably for less than 5% of the population, of the world, basically, or even less than that. And so for the majority of us, we would need a private mortgage loan. And so we kind of have it summed up into three different parts. If you're asking for, just to make the math easy, 10,000 on a $100,000 loan, that would put you at a 10% LTV, and we're usually looking at somewhere around 12% interest rates. When you move up to, let's say, 30,000 on a $100,000 property, then you'd go up to most likely 14%, and then all the way up to the 45 to 50% mark, you could be all the way up to 16% interest per year. Keep in mind, of course, everything is based off of the location. What we specialize in is more towards the West Coast, all the way down from Ovita, Jaco, Dominical, all those areas. Those tourist beaches are really what our lenders are looking for, because they know if push comes to shove, then they have a property in a location that is well received, and they can do something with it. If your property is in, let's just call it the middle of nowhere or in the sticks, then the lenders understand that, and they're less likely to want to deal with something that's so far out. So maybe the interest rates might change a little bit. But for Jaco, for example, or for the Central Valley, then those are our averages right around there. So it's between 12 and 16%. And then, of course, for example, if you have something in Tamarindo, and there's 5 to 10 lenders that are all bidding against it, sometimes we can do even better rates than possibly even lower than 12%. And that the reason being is we can have them outbid each other, because the property is so great, the location is so great, all the boxes are checked. And so it's my job to make sure that the lenders are taken care of, and that the private mortgage is set, it's in place. Of course, the majority of that is their own lawyer or notary that does all the due diligence and whatnot. But I do try to take care of them. But just as the same, I try to take care of the borrowers as well, and get them, the fairest rate that's possible.
Okay, that's very, very interesting. It's interesting that you're mentioning you have 5 or more lenders. You're in the middle of these lenders. So it occurred to me that perhaps there is somebody in the audience that could be one of those lenders, could be one of your, is that true? You're also recruiting for potential investors to offer them good deals, opportunities for them to lend? Tell us more.
Yes, that's correct. And so just going back to that 12% marker for that interest rate, roughly speaking, if you have $100,000 that you can invest, and we are able to find you a $100,000 loan, that means that you'd be making $1,000 per month based off of that 12% interest rate per year. So let's say if you had $1 million, you could be potentially making $10,000 per month. And if you have $10,000 per month, you could probably be living a very nice lifestyle. You could have your rent being paid for, and food, electricity bills, everything could be paid for, and you'd basically have a job, so to speak, which is very low time consumption. It's pretty much just a matter of keeping in contact with your borrowers, and if there's ever any issues, then you can follow up with your lawyer. But generally speaking, we've never really had any foreclosures in the last 20 years that my father's been doing business. The only time that there's been foreclosures is actually, funny enough, during COVID. But that kind of speaks for itself, in that was a time where businesses were shut down, things were more difficult. And so there was, I believe, 1 or 2 foreclosures during that time, but otherwise, pretty much crystal clear record. It's also my job, when I was saying to protect the borrower, or the lender rather, I'm always looking to ensure that the borrower, has the right need for the money. If they're looking to consolidate their loans, then I'm going to have to go over these, everything with a fine-tooth comb. The reason being is I want to make sure that the borrower can actually pay the loan, to make sure that the lender is taken care of, to make sure that everything goes smoothly, because nobody wants to deal with a default. Nobody wants to have to take over someone's property because you're missing 2, 3, 4 months of payments. That's the last thing that anybody wants. It's a headache on on all ends, and so it's my job to try to avoid that to the best of my ability.
Okay, amazing. That's amazing. I love what you guys are doing. I think it's a great opportunity. If somebody needs that additional money to purchase their house, or maybe build a pool, I understand the market. I know loans to newcomers, experts, or investors that are coming from another country are not available in Costa Rica. So what you're offering is something unique that is well worth to share with our community. Thank you so much. If you want to close with something, it's your time, it's your opportunity. But if not, we are ready to go.
I'm sure. So the way that it works is you would be contacting me. I would send you a small list of 7 things that you would need. And so I can give you my WhatsApp or whatnot, and you can get contact with me there. And that's pretty much it. It's a very quick process. All I need really is the GPS location, the meter squared for the construction and the loan, just a few simple things, and we're pretty much off to the races.
Well, that's amazing. Thank you so much. And high five.
All right. Boom. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Ciao.